Hello?
Bobby.
Danny, how are you?
Oh.
Danny. What happened to the running beer? He was still in the hot hand. Oh, he sank the heat, Danny.
You weren't watching.
I was watching until about 1 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep.
You weren't watching. You stayed up? Mom only stays up. You stayed up?
No, I stayed up. Yeah, I stayed up. Your mother likes to watch the game with me, so I had no choice but to stay up. But the running beer was still in a hot hand, and I saw the brothers, what's the name, Jeff and Stan Van Gundy, they were helping the other team. They were on the Rockets side. That wasn't good.
The Clippers?
Yeah, they were on the Clippers side. I saw Jeff. Is he an assistant head coach there?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. And we saw also Stan. I think that your mother saw Stan there on the sideline.
Well, what about the state of the Heat? They'd won 3 in a row. What are your thoughts? Tyler Hero's playing like an all-star.
Oh, the guy is soft. He's a soft player. You know, you gotta keep your fingers crossed, make sure that he doesn't get hurt before the playoff. That's it. I mean, you know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. In the last 4 years, you know, he hasn't been able to make it to the playoffs.
He's the only guy who's played in every game.
Well, listen, I'm waiting for Jimmy Buckets to come back. I'm telling you, that guy is something else.
What about Spo?
Oh, there was bad blood between Spo and Jimmy Bucket. Last year, the Jimmy Bucket challenged Spo to a fight, and UD had to step in. Don't you remember that incident on the court?
Yes.
Well, there you have it. You know, this thing has been carrying over a year now. But I can't wait for Jimmy to come back, and then he's going to drop for 40, 50 points on the other team, and then they got to interview Jimmy on national TV. What do you think Jimmy's going to say?
What would you say?
Well, I'm not going to show my hands. It's going to get a little bit tricky there, buddy. I'm telling you. Unless they don't want to talk to Jimmy. They might bypass Jimmy and talk to the Mexican stallion, Jimmy Hackett.
Who's Jimmy Hackett?
Jaime Hackett.
Jaime Hackett? Poppy, you don't know the Latin names on the team? Like Jimmy Hackett is what you just called Jaime Hackett, Poppy?
Jimmy Hackett. That's the English version of Jaime Hackett.
Poppy,
so I call him Jimmy Hackett.
Jaime Hackett is the name you should know in the league, Poppy. You should be able to pronounce Jaime Hackett. It's like, why did you call him Jimmy Hackett?
You know, at time I got the once in a while I get the senior moments. You know what I mean?
The reason I'm calling you is because you're the only person I have heard crushing Eric Spoelstra. I have not heard anyone doing it publicly. I have only heard you doing it privately.
Well, I mean, crushing Spo. I don't crush Spo. I think that the Spo should move on. They got to give him a promotion, kick him upstairs, give him a rally shop. Let's rally retire. Give him $10 more million a year to a Spo, a big office. View to Biscayne Bay. Are you kidding me? And bring you-know-who into Miami. He's going to get things squared away.
Who's you-know-who?
I never my guy, the Butcher.
Oh,
That's
Thibodeau.
my guy.
Okay, enough with Thibodeau. Poppy, what do you think of the Dolphins?
Oh, the Dolphins. The Dolphins, I tell you, they need this guy, Tua, to come back. You know, my recommendation was give him a bigger helmet, a bigger size helmet, to take care of the hits. You know what I mean? Without that guy, the Dolphins, they don't got a chance, buddy. I'm telling you. They almost made it to the playoff without Tua this year. But, you know, this guy, what's the guy's name? Tyler Huntley? He can fill those shoes, Tua's shoes. Are you kidding me? And he head coach, he looks like a chemistry teacher in high school. He doesn't look like a football coach. So I don't know. Hello?
I love you, buddy.
Maybe you drop out.
I just got tired of hearing it. Is all. I'm just tired of hearing you're yelling about the Heat, yelling at the Dolphins, yelling at everybody.
You gotta give credit to this guy who writes for the Herald. What's his name? Armando Salgueiro. He has been writing for the Herald for the last 50 years. You know, he writes the same shit every time. You know what I mean? He got to come up with something new, and he keeps coming back at the readers. You know, he's a tiger, Armando. I heard that he has a big follow. A bunch of followers are following him up. You know what I mean?
Papi,
that takes a great deal of creativity.
Papi, Armando Salguero hasn't worked for the Miami Herald in about 5 years.
Really? Gee, I thought that he was still the one of the biggest Dolphin writer for the Herald.
You're so full of shit, Dad. When's the last time you read the Herald? When's the last time you physically held a copy of the Miami Herald? You're so full of shit, Dad.
Well, I go to the Publix, and I don't buy the paper because it's too expensive. I just glance at the paper and I read the news, and I count and I put it back.
You steal the news you don't read.
No, I don't. I don't steal the news. I mean, I just borrow the paper. I tell the guy, "Can I see what is in the news here? See if it's worth spending, $1 or $1.50 on the Herald."
Dad, that's not browsing. That's stealing. That's stealing.
Wow.
You're stealing their information.
Dad,
you used to do this. How about this? Dad, you used to, when we used to go as kids to Winn-Dixie, do you remember this? You used to do this. The candy aisle, you'd just grab the candies and start eating them and walk around the grocery store eating the candies. And then you'd throw the wrappers in the aisles and you wouldn't pay for them. Well,
because I had to eat the candies so your mother couldn't see me. If your mother sees me eating the candies, she would complain that, it was good for me. I mean, it wasn't good for me. Was a lot of sugar with the candy, so I tried to stay away from her. So that's the only place where I could eat some candy. So what can I tell you? But do you remember that, eh?
Worth the risk, Papi. Honestly, I've got to tell you, I salute you. Good work by you. And you turned really thievery into a noble pursuit that keeps your marriage together and your health intact. I love you. See you later.
All right. Take care, buddy. Bye. Love you. Bye.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
So much happening behind the scenes here that Stugotz just had his headphones in his hands. And as the show was starting, he just shouted, and I'm hearing 3, 2, and Stugotz shouts, "I don't know what we're talking about."
Yeah, I mean, it's a Wednesday. I don't know.
I have plenty to talk about. And,
really?
Yes. I meant to get to this yesterday. I don't know if this is any kind of allowed. It's probably against the rules. But can you guys tell me what you think would happen now if it were allowed that Aaron Donald could unretire and say, "I got 3 games for you.
Oh, boy.
I got 3 games for you, Rams. I'm coming back." I don't know if it's possible, playoff rosters, rules, any of that stuff. But I was legitimately wondering if Aaron Donald could do it. Could you take a year off and be the same human being fresh for 3 games and just be pass rush up the middle the Rams could use right now as they go through a gauntlet?
I think he could. I love that it's 3 games. I do. He needs to see them win 1 before he decides to join the team.
The one they just won. The one they just won. They win that one against Minnesota. So you guys will tell me first if any of this is legal, because I'm guessing it's not, but I like the hypothetical anyway, because I wonder whether somebody could physically do something like that. Be dominant if you've retired and actually retired. You're not taking care of your body. You're not lifting weights. So you basically atrophied for, not totally, because I imagine Aaron Donald would take care of his body some, but you've been vacationing from the idea that you have to punish your body for a living.
I don't care about the vacation time. I don't care about the time off. If you tell Aaron Donald to put his fingers in the dirt and give you 3 games, Aaron Donald's going to give you 3 great games. He is. And now I'm starting to think of the playoff teams remaining. If they could pull 1 star from their past, a guy who's retired, who would they take? Yeah, you like that, don't you? Would the Eagles take Jason Kelsey? I don't know. I mean, would Kelsey want to do it?
Of all of them? Of all of them ever?
Well, you're not going to take, I don't know, Wilbert Montgomery.
Has to be someone that can still do it.
Right, exactly right, yes.
Well, Andrew Luck, right? The Colts would immediately take Andrew Luck.
Right, but they're out of the playoffs. So of the 8 remaining playoff teams, I was wondering, who would the Bills take if they could take a guy, Eric Moulds? Eric Moulds could still give you I don't care that he's 50 years old.
He's not. Eric Moulds is in his 50s.
I don't care.
According to Mike Florio, the deadline for players to come off the reserve/retired list is the final business day before Week 13. So it looks like he can now no longer come back.
We should change the rule.
That bums me out.
Can he say that Week 12, all right, I'm coming back, and then just not play until the playoffs? All right, I'm officially back.
I would have wasted a roster spot to do that. Just, look, I think we can agree on this. Mike Ryan was yelling to anyone who would listen in the middle of the season, "Hey, I'm taking right now futures on the Rams, 49ers, and Bengals because maybe." because football might happen, and I think those three might be three of the good teams if they're healthy at the right time. The sneaky thing about us discussing football all hours at all times is, oh, there's a Super Bowl champion with pedigree that has been decimated by injuries since they lost Whitworth to retirement, and they can still, for 4 games, be the team that no-look passes you in the Super Bowl. That's what's happening. Is that the simplified Rams analysis where everyone in this sport is just like, yep, we respect you?
Yeah. I think the Rams are going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Well, you've said this. You said
I really believe it, though. Chris Sims keeps telling me how good that team is.
Well, let me ask you about Chris Sims. And
so do you think, or does Chris Sims think that
well,
the
he
Rams are going to
does,
the
and
Super
yeah,
Bowl?
I'm stealing it. And no, Billy, because when I asked him last week, would you be shocked if the Rams made it to the Super Bowl? He said yes, he would be shocked, but not shocked if they made it to the NFC Championship game, which in hindsight, I probably should have challenged them on that, because if they can make it that far, they can make it to the Super Bowl. So I'm not really taking Sims's take. I'm taking Sims's take one step further. That's all.
Billy, I am so glad that you brought that up, because I want to highlight what I believe to be one of the great chemical relationships in the history of Meadowlark Media, and that is your relationship with Chris Sims as know-it-all Chris Sims guy, and you correctly on God Bless Football all the time correct him, put him in his place. He's Shanahan's buddy. But I will say, when Stugotz says of Chris Sims, my God, I just want to steal all his takes, steal all of them, because he's really smart about football. There's not a lot of people doing it more prepared to know what they're talking about than that guy is. Like the way he's studying the media game is a bit obsessive compulsive in a way that scares me. The thing that I wanted to ask you, because I heard him do a promotion for his own show, Chris Sims Unbuttoned, the other day, and he started it out with "Yo, yo, what's up, homie?" and he ended it with "Peace out, homies."
Yeah.
And I'm asking what he's doing there.
Well, that's Chris Sims. I think what Billy and I have discovered is the Chris Sims you see on TV, that's not Chris Sims.
He talks a lot.
not?
He talks a lot cooler than he looks.
What?
Well-
He's just shouting out his homies. What's the big deal?
Yeah, but he doesn't do that on, Football Night in America, Sunday Night Football, yo, what up, homies? He doesn't do that. He does it on his podcast. He does it with me and you on God Bless Football.
This is why I love Chris Sims right here from the Lefko tree of making funny things well.
Lefko has a tree, huh?
He does.
Sims is in the Lefko tree, you say.
How's that one work?
I think
I don't
Sims
know,
would
I'm
view
asking.
Lefko as in the Sims's tree.
I'm I'm wondering
Yeah.
if that's the way he sees it
Right.
too.
Do we have any votes in there? Because they were a comedy duo for a while, and they did things exceptionally well. And Chris Sims has gone from "I'm buttoned up on television and when I'm next to Florio," but on Sirius Satellite XM, "I'm Chris Sims unbuttoned. Yo, yo, what up, homie?" What's happening there?
I don't know. He's just shouting out his homies. Why can't he shout out his homies?
Right.
Is he not allowed to say homie? What's going on here? What's going on here, I think, is the
I'm
question.
asking. I am asking. Look,
Yo.
he's a bit starched when he's nodding his tie and doing the dance on behalf of corporate America, because he knows how to do it. But then he goes unbuttoned, and when he's on God Bless Football, he's unbuttoned.
Oh, he's unbuttoned.
He's
Yeah.
semi-buttoned on God Bless Football. Off air, he's unbuttoned.
We're talking shirt unbuttoned, right?
Well,
Yeah.
not off air.
Yeah.
I'm talking Chris Sims' corporate image and Chris Sims, who he actually is. You'll see the best look at that through God Bless Football, through Billy agitating him. Chris Sims is naughty. There, I said it.
I love having Chris Sims on the show because I love his information. But if not for the dynamic between him and Billy, I'm not certain we'd still be doing it because it is great.
All right, but I want to ask you guys this, because God Bless Football is an award-winning entity, and the Chris Sims and Mike Golick knowledge is excellent there, as is their relationship with those people. But when you're looking for your football information, y'all want look, this is what happened on the show yesterday, all right, Stu guys? Many people didn't like that we spent so much time talking to Chris Haynes about Jimmy Butler, and many people are tired of Jimmy Butler. But
I was one of them.
it was at least refreshing because he had new information originally reported, and he was making an effort.
Mm-hmm.
The standard in the gas bag industry has fallen so much that somebody taking that effort stands out, because so many people are just giving their opinions somewhere.
Right.
And we're giving equal weight to a lot of different voices, more than there've ever been. But when it comes to football, there aren't many people I listen to. I'm not expecting them to be predictive about who can win that game, who know what they're talking about more than Chris Sims. And I hear that on God Bless Football, and it has the range of being really smart, really informative, really interesting, and also unbuttoned. It's fighting with the Duke, because the Duke's the real one who knows football around here.
Yeah, I think with Sims, what's so amazing about him, first off, TV does that to you, right? Like, TV is going to suck the personality out of you. Very few people.
Is that right? It should bring out the personality in you.
No, but he's doing a studio show. It's an NFL show. It's before Sunday Night Football. It feels like an NBC NFL property.
But help me with this. As somebody who is bucked against the idea of, okay, why are we wearing sports coats? Does that give our opinion more weight like that because we're wearing sports coats? Like, who bucks against the idea of Pat McAfee seems to be himself on that show, and that seems to work? Like, why wouldn't you want people to be maximum themselves and be someone else on television? What's the point of that?
Well, Pat McAfee is his own boss. Like, it's his show. Chris Sims, he's working for NBC. He's doing a studio show that's very important to NBC and the NFL. So I think those things are different. Now, you make a great point with McAfee because when he goes on College Game Day, he's still Pat McAfee, and that's kind of a studio show getting you ready for college football Saturday, but you're allowed to be more of yourself. Kind of in that atmosphere, that college atmosphere.
Does that not sound backward to you guys, though, as people who love sports coverage? The idea of, hey, go on television, be less yourself than you actually are. Let's make that entertainment. Why? Because we've got to pray for sports. We got to take the cathedral super serious. NBC Sunday nights. America gathered around the television. Tie your tie, button up your shirt.
But don't you think there's a certain way to do studio shows? McAfee has his own show. It's kind of like our show. There's a certain way to do studio shows. Like Chris Berman, what you saw on the air for all those years, there's a different person off air. I've seen it. I've met him. I mean,
it's a job. Like, you know, it's a job, and you behave differently at work than you do at home. Like, I'm sure Mina Kimes is a lot differently, like, on NFL Countdown than she is, just hanging out on the weekend.
Right, with Lenny.
But do you guys not understand? Do I have this wrong?
Shout out to the homie Lenny.
So, do you know isn't that why so much of the content ends up being homogenized? Like, isn't that why everything becomes a little bit the same?
Why do you want him to call everybody motherfuckers like he does on God Bless Football? Like,
I'm going to smoke a joint right after this game.
Yeah, imagine that's how he's tied to Tony Dungy. That doesn't work.
Wait a minute. I got Mad Dog saying he's on gummies all the time. I got Pat McAfee talking all the smoke, and he says all the science is running through his body. Like,
yeah, but those are different shows. Mad Dog's doing a radio show. I have acknowledged all the weed smoking I've done over the years on this show. I've talked about it openly. I wouldn't do it on SportsCenter.
You didn't do it on ESPN.
That's exactly right.
Yes. I'm just asking you, don't you want from television the most authentic personalities? Isn't Charles Barkley the most interesting personality in the history of sports television because everyone believes it to be authentic and unafraid? And isn't that what you want? I'm not saying I guess this is what I would say to you. That the Chris Sims off the air is more interesting and the Chris Sims on the air is plenty interesting, that I would love to see him be his full self because he doesn't have to go to quarterback school under his father, Phil Sims, and be broadcasting the way CBS thinks about it.
I think the Ravens would take Anquan Boldin.
No question about it. No question about it. And Anquan Boldin, I'm telling you right now, he could still do it. I don't know how old he is, but Anquan Boldin can give you 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown in his sleep.
Jessica,
44.
Help me as our resident old person who's a young person, because CBS is going for a certain broadcasting demo when they get Matt Ryan, who I saw him the other day, and I'm like, man, he fits in perfectly as the starched old person with his suit just perfectly manicured and will never say a single interesting thing so that none of the old people get offended. Matt Ryan is perfect for CBS, which is trying to bring back Hollywood Squares, and goes for the old people demo on, let's keep this looking the same and safe so that the old people don't get scared. Let's just give them the same pregame show. We'll throw Tony Gonzalez in once in a while, Nate Burleson, Shannon Sharp.
He was on my flight last week, too. I saw a 3-day span. Tony Gonzalez was on my flight from Chicago to New York after the Bears played on Thursday night. Bad, awful game, by the way. Ugh. December 26th, Thursday night game, Bears. Ugh. And then Steven Spielberg the next day, and then Michael Imperioli, 3 in a row. Bam, bam, bam. And obviously Tony Gonzalez, the least famous of the 3.
Can you guys play for me, please? Jason Garrett just turning to the screen when he knows the camera is there.
This is authentic.
Jason Garrett. Jason
You
Garrett.
want Sims
Jason
to
Garrett,
be
you're right.
himself in front of that guy.
Yes,
I mean,
it's just television.
Does look like a carrot.
Yeah. All right. Put it on the poll, please. At Le Batard Show. Does Jason Garrett look like a carrot?
That's his Veggie Tales character.
It is. It is
Jason Garrett.
Yes, it absolutely is. Whatever happened to our children's book with Teddy Bridgewater? I still want to
stole it.
I want to bring that. I want to bring that idea back because you're absolutely right. O.J. Mayo looked like a broccoli vegetable when he played a cartoon, and Jason Garrett looks like a carrot. Thank you for helping me with that.
Would the Chiefs take back Priest Holmes? I mean, wow, this is exciting.
Do they have to be retired or just any former Chief?
It's got to be a former Chief who you think could still muster it up for 3 games.
When you
but
said,
not active.
When you said
Christian Okoye.
you said Tony Gonzalez.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Tony Gonzalez.
With Travis?
I think Tyreek Hill would retire just so he could go back to Kansas City under this scenario.
I mean, he almost did at the end of the season. I mean, you could interpret it that way if you wanted.
Can I ask the group, because I don't know that the name Christian Okoye would land with Jeremy and Jessica the way
Nigerian Nightmare. You got to be careful with that one.
Why?
For me, I mean.
Yeah.
Because I can't speak.
Don't worry, Stu, guys. We got you.
Thank you, Roy.
You got it. Moving on.
Anyway, you were saying that him and Barry Word, what a great 1-2 combo, huh?
You think you're going to act as permission?
I'm just trying to make sure he doesn't get in trouble.
Thank you, Roy.
That's my job at the moment.
I appreciate
but
you.
At the moment, you've put us in the middle of this mess because
Me?
Chris, you mentioned yes. I will tell you why. I will tell you why. Know your teammates.
Oh.
Know your teammates. As soon as you say Christian Okoye, and I don't know if the rest of you noticed this, he barreled into the room to say it because this is the Roy wheelhouse. Do I get to shout the name of an old player that will make us laugh? Like this, there is no place that Roy is more joyous than this particular space where he careened into the room and he shouted Christian Okoye at us because he knew that was going to spew from Stugotz's bowels a belch of the Nigerian Nightmare.
I nailed it.
That's producing, friends.
And then Stu calls himself out, oddly. Oh, that was close.
Just in general. It's more of a general thing. You know?
Roy, please stop playing with fire.
I apologize. Hey, Christian Okoye. See you later, everybody.
Yeah, but Barry Word, a lot easier.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Makes us smile, you know. No nickname, though. I understand.
Okay.
The dictionary.
Oh.
Christian Okoye.
Oh.
You should look it up. He was Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry and probably smaller than Derrick Henry.
That's crazy.
I'm going to guess. I don't know. Maybe I have that wrong. I'm doing. I tend to make today's players bigger, stronger, faster than all of yesterday's players, and I don't know where the line on that is. I think of today's receivers as being more athletic than the 1980s, obviously, but there were plenty of Hall of Fame wide receivers in the 2000s. You know what I mean? Like,
of course, yeah.
So I don't know where the line is generationally on where it is that you say that athletes stop being bigger, stronger, faster than the previous generation, where your nostalgia ends up carrying you and you think things that aren't so. Like, for example, I thought that today's players on the defensive line were a lot larger than Howie Long, even though Howie Long was one of the largest of his time. And Jay Glazer was like, nah, Howie Long was pretty big for his size. But I think of that time as an ancient sports time where people were just smaller, where the 1972 offensive line for the undefeated Dolphins averaged 266 pounds. Like
right.
Something, or maybe smaller than that. I think Larry Little was their biggest Hall of Fame offensive lineman at like 300 pounds.
The Nigerian Nightmare was 6'1", 253. Derrick Henry is 6'2", 247.
A big 6'2", though.
A big 6'2".
Big 6'2".
Yeah.
He's only 6'2". He looks 6'8" out there.
Chris is like, I can take him. I'll tackle him. Only 6'2", please. That's shorter than Mike Ryan.
Yeah.
What do you guys think is the worst feeling in football?
A hit while it's cold. That's the worst feeling in football.
I would say tackling Derrick Henry.
Well, it's cold.
I was going to ask more, I guess, about whatever the embarrassment is of many of us came from a couple of games over the weekend in football, and the takeaway was Goddard will stiff arm Valentine for 30 yards. And Derrick Henry will stiff arm Minkah Fitzpatrick in a way that you will send your friends. This is the memeable moment from the game. Watch Derrick Henry punch a defensive back who's a first-round pick in the face because the Ravens like to punch the Steelers in the face. Look at how the Ravens play football. Let's be honest about this, okay? America loves this sport, at least in part, because every time what you're watching is violent acquisition. It's at the core of the country's DNA.
Yes.
How do we violently acquire the other people's land? Here's how we do it with Derrick Henry stiff-arming Minkah Fitzpatrick.
It's a good way of doing it.
Here, Minkah, you want to be tough and tackle everything in football to get to the top of sports? How about some of this from Derrick Henry? He just punches people in the face running through your secondary.
I'm kind of with you on D-line players now being bigger, stronger, faster, right? It has to happen. But then I think back to Reggie White. Was Reggie White the same size as Chris Jones? Because Chris Jones is a lot bigger, stronger, faster than Howie Long was, you know?
I don't know how to do this because at some point, some group of people is going to say that Michael Jordan wasn't the most athletic, right?
No.
See, this is where I trap you,
There'll never
though.
be a group of people who say that.
Okay, so, but we've forgotten,
A
Will.
group of idiots.
I was talking the other day about the fact that if it happened in the 1950s in sports, did it really actually happen? When I tell you that LaMelo Ball has as many shots per minute as Wilt Chamberlain, none of us today are talking about Wilt Chamberlain like we understand what his athleticism was compared to his peers. But Bill Russell won all those championships. Look, Bill Russell is one of the greatest centers ever. You want to look at his dimensions? Please give me his height and weight. Bill Russell, one of the best centers ever. When I'm watching a sport now where they're telling me Karl Anthony Towns can't play center for 40 minutes or the Knicks won't be deep enough.
I feel like yes, the nutrition's gotten better, training's gotten better. A lot of the things around sports have gotten better in the last few decades than they were before. But trying to say every person before a certain decade was just like a wet noodle. They were still very strong and very fast and very large people. And just going off height and weight, I don't think is giving you a full picture.
Russell was 6'10", 220. A center.
220 pounds. I want you to imagine that in the post now.
I'm looking up NBA rosters.
220 pounds.
Bam Adebayo is 6'9", 255 pounds.
Undersized.
Way undersized for a center.
Playing against
one
Wilt.
of the freakiest athletes I've ever seen in this town. I'm not kidding you. If I saw the other day that Steven Adams was like, hey, Amen Thompson is the most athletic thing I've ever seen in a basketball uniform. I'm like, dude, you played with Russell Westbrook. What are you talking about? How can you get that forgetful? I would argue Russell Westbrook is the most athletic being in the history of that league. I would make the argument just in terms of athleticism, not understanding how you can get triple doubles at that size, but it's just because you got more fast twitch muscle fiber than everyone else.
You're taking out basketball skill. You're just saying as an athlete.
I
think I'm with you as an athlete.
Look,
Russell Westbrook could play wide receiver, I think.
Okay, this is what I'm saying to you about sports, okay? Because I really do love that it's the competition of not just the inner cities, but the globe now for money, fame, and the biggest of currencies. How do I get into professional sports and get to the top of the most excellent and the most excellent, the top 1% of the top 1%? How do I get there? Medicine, science, doctors, millions of dollars in training. How do I fix my body? What do I need to do? I know a lot of people think that they're eating McDonald's and just traveling and partying. That's not what's happening. I know that we think that's what Zion Williamson is doing. That's not what's happening. These people are in professional organizations that are trying to streamline business so that they could beat other people who are competitionaholics. It's a crazy business to get to the top of. And the athletes are thrown into the maw of it. Their bodies, science experiments. Test the human limits of how strong and how big we can be. I saw a 305 guy in motion in the NFL the other day. I saw earlier this season there was a Sweat, a 366-pound guy is running with the football. And I'm like, okay, and runs faster than anyone you've ever seen. Runs fast for that size where you're like, that shouldn't move that way. I'd always argue that we're in the best time, that we're in the most athletic time, that LeBron James at 40 is something the world has never seen. That's not something that's ever existed on this planet, being able to play basketball with those efficiencies. That right now, what we're watching in Jokic, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think Jokic is still leading the league in three-point percentage.
Come on.
Like, I think he's making near half of his three-point shots, because offensive basketball has never been played better by anyone playing offensive basketball than that person. And just because you think he looks like a loaf of bread doesn't mean that his advanced defensive metrics aren't also good. You can make the argument that that's the best basketball has ever been played by anybody. Anybody ever, Michael Jordan included.
Jokic is second, this is funny, behind Sabonis.
By 0.1%. So he's right there.
Bill Russell, 220.
Jimmy Butler, 230.
We can't do it height and weight, Jessica. But
imagine Jimmy Butler playing against Wilt.
Bill Russell would get caught in Jokic's ass crack. He'd be going up and down the court in his ass crack.
Be careful with this, man. Bill Russell is a legend.
So at what age do I have to do that? Yes, of course, it's blasphemous. Billy, help me out here. At what age are we going to look at an athlete and say, Michael Jordan doesn't represent the height of athleticism? That's a bygone time. He's John Havlicek. He's Rick Barry. He's 20 years a generation removed from when things got really athletic.
Honda.
So, like, how old are you before you, like, when you start disrespecting
Exactly.
older?
What year is the cutoff? Like, if you were born post 2000, you're better than everyone before
Like, when I
that
say
year.
Babe Ruth would be like a beer league softball player, like, that's the question. Like,
Who's
when are we going to get to that level with Michael Jordan?
Well, no, Dan, Billy, at a time, Willie Mays was considered one of the greatest athletes in the world, right? And that went on for several decades, right? And then at some point, we just decided to turn the clock.
I have a way to phrase this.
And then it was Bonds, Griffey, Jordan.
Who's the oldest athlete that we consider a modern-day athlete? Is Barry Bonds a modern-day athlete? I think yes.
Yeah, Jordan.
Okay. So is around there the cutoff, early 90s?
Well, I know the way that you guys are doing it, but I'm doing it the way Billy's doing it, where Billy is saying, we now make the joke that the 104-mile-an-hour guy coming out of the A's pen would make that Babe Ruth swinging that big piece of wood up there look like his bat was slow because he wouldn't be able to keep up with the times today. We can make that joke 100 years removed. When are we going to make it about Jordan? When are we going to say that, wait a minute, you know how they're doing it now? Look at Wembanyama. They make them 8-4 now, and they make threes from half court. I don't know how that happened, but they dunk everything, they block everything, and the human species has now rendered that model obsolete.
Never on Jordan.
Yeah,
he might be the cutoff.
We should be careful saying guys born in the 60s are washed, and we should write them off.
Did you come BJ or AJ? Mm-hmm. What? Before Jordan or after Jordan?
Also, Babe Ruth never had to play against these modern players, so maybe he would have upped his physical game and lifted some weights.
Right. But I think what Dan is saying is Karl Malone, who was a massive man back in the 80s and 90s, he'd be small today. Yeah, the mailman.
Same with the Admiral.
Well, he'd have to move his game out to the three-point line because
doing it.
They wouldn't want those 2-pointers. He wouldn't do it. That's correct.
He didn't like to mail threes. He liked to mail twos.
The mailman. I mean, that's a nickname we won't even have in 20 years because the mail will be completely obsolete.
Right. Yeah.
We'll have the email man, and that won't even be relevant anymore.
How's Lucy doing with the TikTok ban? Do we know? Because I know it's easy for us to make fun of it. Chris felt it a little bit more because Chris has gotten a little addicted to that sugar as well. But if we're all addicted to the devices, and TikTok was the most advanced of the devices, so scary that the government has to say, yeah, we don't want this here anymore. And everyone's like, yeah, get it out of here. China, they're taking all our thoughts and information. Like, how is Lucy doing with taking away something that has become a substantive addiction for a generation?
I haven't checked in with Lucy this week. I know that she was struggling with it last week. I know that the kids these days, Jeremy was telling me, they've moved on to a more Chinese app.
Yeah, that's right.
They're like, hey, government, you're going to tell us we can't be on TikTok? We're going to go to an even more Chinese
Just
app.
a big middle finger to the U.S. government going to Red Note, which was the #1 app on the App Store yesterday, as everyone is downloading the app that's in China.
There is a real business opportunity here for, if minds and info and bodies are for sale, okay, we'll be this addicted that we will allow some branches of the internet in China to control our thoughts, infos, and actions.
Well, what, you want them to leave it to Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Man.
Yeah,
this is so much worse.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that with Pablo Torre and David Sampson, because it does feel like we're living in apocalyptic times.
But TikTok hasn't like disappeared off people's phones. Like, I think you're still going to be able to use it. You just won't be able to update it, right, Jer Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case, but then what does it become if there's no new content? I need new content.
Right, I got to tell you guys, nothing says TikTok quite like David Sampson.
Yeah.
Well, it's not TikTok, it's Zuckerberg. It's another. I need you to keep up here, because these are complicated times and there's some freedoms being impinged upon, and you might want to pay some attention to how eager Elon Musk is to buy America by just following Donald Trump around.
I'm paying attention.
As he gets to ransacking the government.
It's cute that you think that you own your own thoughts, Dan, and that someone doesn't already own them.
That's correct.
They seem like genuine friends to me.
I own Chris Sims's.
What's fun about Red Note is it actually, from the Chinese translation, means Little Red Book, which is Chairman Mao's, instructions in communism.
This is awkward.
I told you one of the great business scams I've ever seen in my life was in China with the entombment of Mao, because the line was down the street of people buying flowers and putting them at Mao's tomb site. And then when you came back 6 hours later, all of those flowers had been put back in the shack and resold to a new group of people, because 6 hours later, none of the flowers. It was one of the great grifts I've seen of all time, happening right in front of me with a dead emperor.
Kind of like what the Panthers do with the rats. Yeah. People throw the rats on the ice, they gather the rats, and then sell the rats.
The Lions take Megatron?
Ooh, for sure. Wow. What about Ray Lewis? Think he could still get you 9 tackles?
10.
Billy, yesterday I erred in wandering around through a bunch of Greg Cody meanderings. Greg Cody was great the last 2 days. It was a historic throwback performance by Greg Cody, until he petered out in the third hour because he tired of Jimmy Butler and Chris Haynes talk.
Back-to-back days.
It's a long 40 minutes.
It was long, too long.
Jeez.
It is.
You buy weird trinkets, okay.
Chris,
Friends with Jimmy Butler.
Chris, let me ask you the same question another way.
I want to get...
Surprised he didn't have a Jimmy Butler jersey autographed behind his head. Jeez.
Jesus. Right.
Carrying water.
So...
Are we still talking about that? What's going on?
We're going to talk about not talking about it anymore because of how much we've annoyed the audience. But I will tell you, and this is very polarizing, Jeremy was very excited by that Chris Haynes interview. In the middle of the night last night, I got a text from Amin talking about how great that Jimmy Butler-Chris Haynes interview was. And I have rarely seen people more divided on a subject where I thought something was good, but I could tell that everyone here didn't think that was good, because everyone's grown so tired of Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. And they're like, why are we talking about a middling 8 seeds, 35-year-old player? And it's because the franchise and the market that got so excited with 2010-2014 basketball, Miami Heat, where you're the center of the universe and you're making super teams, that market falling into the sea so the Boston Celtics could be champion and only feeling alive when they're trading their best old player. It felt like the old days for a week. We're talking about basketball in Miami like it matters.
Yeah, but in the old days, we used to talk about a team that was good.
Yeah. That was 11 years ago. LeBron left 11 years ago.
It's amazing. Really?
Yeah.
And we're still talking about that.
I'd also say that, saying that people are tired of talking about Jimmy Butler, or they're tired of Jimmy Butler and the Heat. The Heat are also tired of Jimmy Butler and the Heat, and Jimmy Butler is also tired of Jimmy Butler and the Heat. So imagine everyone else who's less invested of the situation.
But so I'm arguing, though, with Amin. I'm like, Amin, trust me when I say this. That was only interesting to basketball nerds. One of the problems the sport has is that many people are tuning out on basketball because of what all this has wrought. The idea, Stugotz, It is. There's no disputing this. Wherever it is that you align racially or politically, in today's times where people are struggling with not understanding, how are you telling me that the economy is good when I can't afford things because of inflation? A player says, I can't get Joy under contract for I get $40 million this year and opt into $50 million next year, when you're Jimmy Butler and you've done plenty of winning and proved you're a badass. But that you'll make this mess, that's going to land wrong with a public that is waiting for that sport to land wrong since George Floyd, since the bubble, since woke culture, since you put social justice on the uniforms. People want some of this stuff to fail, and Jimmy Butler is an easy place to just check out on the NBA because you're making a lot of money and you're not enjoying it. Get out of here.
I got to tell you something, man. You are good. How'd you bring us back to a topic that none of us want to discuss? I mean, you are good.
And
you're making it interesting. I mean,
what's going to happen to Jimmy's new brick and mortar coffee shop he just opened in the Design District? I love their coffee. It is so good. Yes, it's actually, I'm not being paid by them to say this.
I think you should
delicious
coffee. I think
I agree with you.
Can we make let's
make this happen.
Let's do some business. If you're
Jimmy likes us.
You're not being paid to say this. You're a genuine advocate for $100 coffee.
Yeah, it's like cost the same as all the overpriced coffee in the city. It's not like it's particularly over. The merch, on the other hand, very overpriced. But is he going to close it? What's going to happen? I mean, he just opened it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I keep seeing businesses all over South Florida close. This is happening all over the place too, correct? As desperation increases, as homelessness increases, this is something you guys are noticing all over the country. There are more things shuttered and closed, at least in part, because people aren't even working on the streets anymore. They're more at home than they've ever been. I was reading something today about among American middle-aged males, 74% of them or something say they have moderate to high loneliness. Like we're kind of in a weird time, aren't we? Like we can all agree on this. Yes, this is not something that we would even disagree. That weird times, strange times.
On this show or in
everywhere.
General?
We're just talking about like football players and how tall they were.
Everywhere.
Yeah, just come on over to Red Note, comrade. Right over there.
That's a good slogan, right? That I like.
Comrade is great.
Things are weird, but you also may be projecting a little bit.
I don't know. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I saw Wendy's that was closed, but that's about it.
Right. Jordan's still the greatest.
Okay, I think we can all agree on that.
That's the line.
All right, very good. I'm glad we agree.
Greetings to all. Welcome to 2022. Omicron is on the run, and away it went. But oops, there goes gravity, and here comes a new variant. Omaha, Corona, Hut 1, Hut 2, nothing infects the Super Bowl, and nothing stops football.
racism, greed, trauma to brain and spine. And yet, I cannot look away. Heroes are dead. Science has their heads. Oh, is there no escape from here? I need to know. It eats my soul. Nothing stops the NFL. Is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's human cockfighting. CTE prayer circles. They blackballed the blackballer. They tried to end racism by stenciling it in the end zone. Billionaire boys using millionaires as toys. It's all immoral, all unethical. Ooh, the witching hour. Nothing stops the NFL. Is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's Urban and Snyder and Flores and Gruden, but Kyler, but Kelsey, but Cooper, but Canty. It's cheating and tanking and bounties and banking, but parlays, but face paint, but promo, but innings.
What's up, everybody? Your boy is back from paternity leave, and I have a very important announcement. UFC 311 MMA Hangout is back at Gasatiki live and in person at the #1 UFC bar on the planet, Gasatiki. We'll be watching UFC 311. That's Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. #2, we've got the bantamweight title also in line between Merab Dvalishvili, and we've got Umar Nurmagomedov undefeated. Plus, we got a banger to open all that stuff up. Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill, 10 p.m. Saturday night at Gasatiki Live if you want to pull up on the boys, or YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you watch the MMA Hangout. Support us. We love you. 2025, big year. We're back. Let's go.
I'm sorry. I am sorry. That just legitimately happened. I just asked Jessica if she had sent me a story about an Italian soccer club firing a falconer. It's not a falconer, right? A falconer.
No, it's a falconer.
It's a falconer.
It's somebody
yeah.
who has trained
Falcons fan.
a falcon, yes, for posting photos of a penis implant. And I thought it was Jessica who sent me that story.
I said, okay, Dan, now let's get you back to the home.
But it was Samson, was it you who sent me that story? Somebody.
Yes.
Okay, somebody sent me that story.
How'd you confuse the two of them?
I get it.
We were starting the segment, and I'm looking through my notes trying to figure out who it is that sent me the Falconer story, and there it is. David Sampson sent me that story. I'm not familiar with the story. I love the headline. What's the story?
The story is there's a team that has a falcon as a mascot, and when you have a falcon, you have a falconer who's the guy who controls the falcon and says, "Come back to me." And this guy got a penile implant because he wanted a button that he could press to control his erection and make sure that he can have sex whenever he wants to for however long he wants to. And then he posted pictures of it on his social media account that's private, but somebody took a screenshot of it and then posted it publicly. And he got canned, absolutely fired. And he's shocked that he got fired for this penile implant.
You had Jess sending this to you? I mean,
I have too many
Isn't that
notes.
just called the G-spot?
It's a button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
she knows.
Hard to find.
metaphorically, I guess.
Dan, help me right now, because this is it. This may be the moment.
This is it, huh?
After all we've been through, this could be it.
Is that a Rosebud Motel next to you?
Hey, Schitt's Creek. How about that?
That's my Hanukkah gift for my kids.
First
the
episode
Rosebud
aired
Motel model.
10 years ago yesterday. First episode of that show.
Last time he were relevant.
Just a button.
That's a nice gift. I mean, that's the nicest.
We're going to need to cover for Dan now because he's gone.
They were in the
We've
finals
lost
twice,
him.
Billy.
So I'd like to talk about something.
What?
I'd like to talk about what it is to fire a player when you are reading a book on the sideline. And I'm sorry, Dan, you may not want to go there, but A.J. Brown's career with the Eagles is done. And I am so lit up about this subject because I don't understand why the coach is absolutely supporting his ability to be distracted like that on the sideline. And we're allowing a player to say, oh, this had nothing to do with the fact that me and Jalen Hurts don't like each other and I had one catch. I think it's an outrage.
David.
Jessica, it's just a spot. It's just a book.
Whoa.
It's a button, David.
What are we talking about again?
Do you know what it is, David?
Let's put a button on that part of the
I've
conversation.
spent a lifetime looking.
What a ridiculous take, I must say, about A.J. Brown being done with the Eagles. I mean, last week you're cutting Mike Evans before he gets his bonus. This week it's A.J. Brown being cut for reading a book. I love what you're doing here because you're taking takes to places they've never gone before, but this is ludicrous.
He won't be an Eagle. You cannot have someone on the sideline who is doing that. You cannot bring your pregame preparation onto the sideline. We just wouldn't allow it.
He was bettering himself. He was reading to become better at his, he's preparing for his next snap.
You're buying that in the middle of a game, he needs to read a passage in order to remind himself what inner excellence is? Give me a small break. It's the middle of a playoff game.
I know, but why are you saying he's not going to be an Eagle? Because if he goes on during these playoffs to have massive games, they go on to the Super Bowl, he's going to be an Eagle. I mean,
he won't even be targeted next week.
Really?
Not even. He'll maybe again 1 target, 1 catch.
Wait, how does this work? So Jalen Hurts drops back, A.J. Brown is wide open, and he refuses to pass him the ball?
You've never heard of basketball players, teammates not passing each other the ball?
Of course,
they don't like each other.
Freezing a guy out, yes, but this is a playoff game where you don't have a ton of time to think about stuff, you know?
Oh, I think you think about it very deeply and strongly, and I think that A.J. Brown is going to walk himself right out of the playbook. Here's the book that I'd like him to read next weekend. How about the playbook or the unemployment income book? There's a whole book that we give you when we fire you, which is Cobra. It's how you can apply for unemployment. It's all the things you can do when you've been canned. That's the book I'd like to see A.J. Brown read.
You're saying A.J. Brown shouldn't read that book. I'm saying if Jalen Hurts makes that read, he should get canned.
It's a good joke.
No, it was a bad play on words. You don't have to
So
pat me on the back for
bad.
that. Dan's back. Hey.
I'm rattled.
You should be.
And I am objecting to his take. It is too strong, but you've seen him. Look, David's a very competitive human being. David runs 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days because he wants to win at all times. He's in the content game. He is a hustler. He has toured the country in the content game, and he's pushing his takes further and further out.
I love it.
Because he's got to keep up in the content game, and the hot take is rewarded. All over the place, the take is rewarded, and David's pretty smart. And he's crafty, and so he's pushing his takes out into the extremes. And and plenty of people in Philadelphia would agree with him that A.J. Brown should be cut. He has served his purpose.
No, Eagles fans love A.J. Brown.
Not a person agrees with that.
They just want to win games. They don't give a
No,
shit.
wait a minute. A.J. Brown disgruntled 1 catch you can get out of town. A.J. Brown 12 catches for 160 yards will love you forever, even if you're reading on the sidelines. Like that, I'm saying the same way they'll run Sirianni out of town even after wins because they're look, man, the Bills fan base is the best that there is in football because it donates charity, but passion of fans in an angry fan base turns into a very ugly thing. And the expectations in Philadelphia are in an unreasonable place where Sirianni's an idiot and A.J. Brown is as good as his last game, not the last one that he gave you 12 catches in, the last one that he gave you 1 catch in and was reading a book.
I mean, the expectations in Philadelphia are where the expectation should be in Philadelphia based on that roster. They're a very good football team. I don't care what their fans say or think. Their fans are a bunch of lunatics. I'm serious. And they're not allowed to celebrate this thing. They're not allowed to celebrate A.J. Brown because I'm certain on WIP they're calling right now Mark Gargano, and they're telling him right now, get rid of A.J. Brown. They're with David Sampson. And I'm telling you, Philadelphia, you are not allowed to root for this team because 6 weeks ago, you wanted to fire your coach. And most of you, I think most of you, do agree with David Sampson. And that's ludicrous.
You think A.J. Brown's not going to find a job if he's not on the Eagles?
Very easily. He'll find the job, yes.
Patriots, Vrabel.
I have an update, by the way, on the guy that was fired in Italy. He was also suspended in 2021 while he was filmed performing a fascist salute at the end of a match, chanting the name used to praise former fascist Italian leader Benito Mussolini. Quote, I admire him so much, he added on Monday's radio interview. So sounds like maybe he had a prior history of...
Well, those are big-time anti-Semites over there, and you don't want to generalize, but that team that he works for is well known for their bad behavior, both fans everywhere in the organization, not a very inclusive place. But I guess being an anti-Semite is fine, but a penile implant, that's the line that you can't cross.
You know what? I've got to interrupt everything I'm doing because a sly grin just came across the face of one Stugotz. And when he gets this sly grin, I'm showing people behind the curtain here, everything around here has to stop immediately, no matter the segue, no matter how awkward. On his face, gleam in his eye, I can see that he has top 5 athletes if they were vegetables. I can see it. I could see it.
This is based on our conversation last segment where I called Jason Garrett Jason Carrot.
We don't have to give any explanation to anybody. I saw the gleam in your eye. Is any OLI or just top 5?
We have some OLI, yeah. Mookie Beats. Cam Radish. Dontario Potato. Number 5, Lou Broccoli. Number 4, Russell Westbrook. Number 3, Diana Zucchini. Number 2, Kevin McHale. And number 1, Dan, Jerome Lettuce.
It's a good list.
I mean, that's as good as it gets.
Man,
Come on.
That might be your best list ever.
On the fly, too. You did that pretty quickly.
Just don't do any more.
I mean, that's as good as it gets.
That's your best.
Good night, everyone.
Good job, Taylor.
Saw it in
Nice,
his
see you later.
eye. Saw it in his eye. It was gleaming. We have to stop everything we're doing whenever it is that we see this.
Cornelda.
We will get to Pablo Torre in a second, but Samson, give me all of your thoughts on Deion Sanders to the Cowboys and the Jerry Jones job opening. I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet.
I just don't see what the benefit is to Jerry Jones. When Deion went to the Buffaloes, it added a bunch of NIL money. They got a bunch of extra revenue at the school level with season tickets, et cetera, and it put their program on the map. The Cowboys' valuation isn't going to go up with Deion Sanders. They need to win games, and they need to win games in January and February. And to even flirt with Deion Sanders is a very funny thing for Jerry Jones, the GM, trying desperately to get away from Mike McCarthy and all the losing. And so trying to go opposite of what McCarthy is, because Deion's done nothing, really never been an NFL coach, obviously. And you could say that his success in Colorado was based on maybe his son and the Heisman Trophy winner. I think this is a flirtation that will not actually result in a contract because there's just no ancillary benefit to Deion Sanders joining the Cowboys.
Squash Allen.
Oh, my God. How did I leave that out?
I am looking right now at an invitation. I'm going to switch gears here from athletes who remind you of vegetables, some nutrients of a different kind that nobody here is asking for or nobody wants. I'm going to ruin the show by looking here at an invitation for Monday night to a reception prior to the inaugural ball, celebrating the inauguration of Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, hosted by Tillman Fertitta and Mark Zuckerberg. And I want to bring in Pablo Torre because of some of what's happening right now in America that people might want to be paying attention to as the power is being dispersed among very, very wealthy people?
It's playoff time, Dano.
I understand, but just give me a brief moment to welcome in Pablo Torre and David Sampson, and start with you, Sampson, on how would you present everything happening around Zuckerberg, around Musk as well, but around Zuckerberg particularly, and how it relates to how we get information and where all the money seems to be aligning.
It's pretty shocking that you want to discuss this now, because this has been going on for decades, where there have been power brokers both outside the government who don't want to be in the government because they have more power not being the president or not being in the Senate. They have power pulling the strings. We've been dealing with this with sports, where you have owners who have been very quiet about their support of the right, except all that's changed is they're less quiet. And when you look at someone like Miriam Adelson, name you didn't mention, who took over the Mavericks from Mark Cuban, her husband was the number one far right, absolute, what I would call, let me talk about Sheldon Adelson for 1 second. He was such that his wife couldn't be approved as owner of the Mavericks, so they had to have the son-in-law as the control person. So the NBA could have plausible deniability that they were kowtowing to people who have those views. Except in sports, they've always wanted people around them who have those views, because they're always interested in maximizing their valuations and their relationships with government, because they need the protections that government provides. What Donald Trump has allowed for is people to be more open. When you've got the Ricketts family, when Tom Ricketts was approved as owner, he was approved to own the Cubs only knowing that it was a trust that his father was funding, but his father could have nothing to do with the operation of the Cubs. So baseball could say, oh, we're not far right, but it's horse hockey. Of course, Joe Ricketts has been involved. Todd Ricketts has been involved in the operation of the Cubs. We just lie to the fans in order for them to believe that we are woke, that we are far left, that we care so much, but they've never cared, ever. They just hide it less well these days.
Pablo, you've reported on sports owners as well as anybody over the last year. I urge everyone listening to this. Pablo Torre Finds Out is a journalistic enterprise that has an assortment of reporting you will not find anywhere else. Miriam Adelson, John Fisher, Glenn Taylor, Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner. What you reported on him was crazy and no longer in the shadows. What have these people been hiding from public view that Trump doesn't make them have to hide anymore?
Well, just the transactionality of all of it. I mean, David does sort of summarize it well there, but I just a different sort of angle to it, which is that invitation that you read, the Ricketts family, the Adelsons. Okay, obviously those are two sports owners. And Mark Zuckerberg, now you have a guy who is also a sports figure. Dana White is on the board of Meta. I went to college with Mark Zuckerberg. I've been watching him in both a morbidly curious. I mean, was I the 199th person in the world to join Facebook? Yeah, maybe. Who's counting? Me? It used to be my URL, 199. But I say that because for 20 years, I watched a guy without any actual moral compass transact and scheme to become more and more powerful and more wealthy. Corruption is not created equal. Like, I think there's just a bunch of people out there who are like, but Hunter Biden. And I'm like, Hunter Biden, that was a terrible embarrassment for the Biden administration. There are lots of things the left, broadly speaking, has done that does fall into the realm of corruption and is embarrassing. I'm just telling you that nothing is as look at what we're doing, we're not even hiding it anymore, than invitations like that and just the pivot that someone like Mark Zuckerberg has taken. They're doing it, Dan, because it works. This is an administration that is welcome to quid pro quo. Miriam Adelson, by the way, the Adelson family, aforementioned, we did an episode about them, the biggest donors to Donald Trump. In exchange, they get to dictate policy on Israel. Mark Zuckerberg, the reason he's doing this is because he knows that he can give money in exchange for political favors and protection. It works, and that's why they're doing it. They're not stupid. They are just devious.
Pablo, people have known that forever. What's actually different now is something that you're not focusing on. It's that they've got the support of over half the country. We can talk all we want about who's the president. The fact is, when you've got 70 million people, It is not. This is the country we are. We elected Trump to office, and now these owners and these billionaires, they've got the cover that they never had before. You don't need to work in the shadows when you have popular support, and that's what they have. Mark Zuckerberg knows that he's fine on Facebook. He looks at the stock price of Meta, and he recognizes that it's being bolstered not by people who disagree with him, but by people who agree with him. So he's going to lean into that.
But I think that what David just did is the trick that got run in the campaign and now the aftermath, which is you voted for this. And I think on some level, of course, because it's two choices, yes, objectively true. But I just think that there has been a both sidesism to corruption that has undersold the magnitude on the side that won. And the side that won did not run on we are corruption, vote for corruption. They ran on all the other stuff. They ran on, again, sports topics. They ran on trans athletes. They ran on immigration. They ran on the stuff that is juicy, the stuff that actually like moves the needle in a town hall meeting. Corruption isn't one of those topics, but because the other stuff got voted for, corruption rides inside. And David, I just think that my faith relative to yours is in the idea that people, if they actually knew the magnitude and were presented with it by journalistic enterprises in a more rigorous and clear way, they would not actually say, we voted for corruption. They would say, oh, that was an unfortunate thing that happened in retrospect. We voted for the other stuff. Instead, we got the most corrupt administration in the history of American politics.
Pablo, were you the least successful member of your graduating class?
You know, I went through this exercise at our reunion.
Oh, no, you went. That already is a bad sign, friend. Zuck was not at that reunion. You didn't go to your... Wait, Billy, you didn't go to your... We don't have college reunions.
Zuckerberg was a year ahead of me. There are some other candidates in mine. You guys don't have college reunions?
No, college reunions.
I mean, we
you
do.
see
I
each
just
other
don't go to them.
walking around. Yeah.
I haven't had one yet.
Like 60,000 people in a graduating class. I just see them in the streets every day.
Yeah.
Pablo, were you also on Facebook when it was just a hot or not website, or was that?
Yeah, so Facebook started as truly that.
Oh,
like
good.
It was a way.
We've
for
seen the
Mark
movie.
Zuckerberg to.
We all saw Social Network, Pablo.
Well, I'm here to tell you, you saw a movie. I lived the movie.
What were the Winklevoss twins like?
I
didn't see you in the movie.
Okay, Pablo.
College was a movie, The Social Network.
That's right.
Pablo, your desire to be so ahead of us intellectually gets in the way of actual discourse, because the corruption that you're discussing has existed since Jefferson, Burr, Hamilton. There's been government corruption since the beginning of time. Now you're saying they didn't vote for corruption?
No, what David is saying is actually the problem now. Your take has gotten worse. Your take is now... Corruption has always existed. We should not even remark upon its existence. Yes, it is. You're observing something. In the observation, you are wearing away the edges on what's actually interesting, which is that this is uniquely corrupt. And I'm just telling you that,
uniquely
yes, of
corrupt.
course,
You're saying, but Pablo, there's nothing unique about what's happening. It's just not hidden anymore. That's the only thing. If you want to say that's what's unique, then we can talk about that. But the level of corruption now by the big, go back to Ford. Go back to when cars started. Go back to the wheel or the steam engine.
Go back to the wheel?
When I'm talking about corruption.
To
when
the
I'm
Model
talking
T.
about power.
Yeah.
Oil.
Are you just naming old things now?
No, I'm naming every level of corruption that started with the caveman.
Swinging saloon doors.
Were you hot or not, Pablo? Like, what was your picture and what was like the percentage?
I think I did peak in college.
Really?
I thought they only rated women.
But
of course they did.
To answer your question, though, in terms of like where do I rank in my college reunion, it does bring us back to the topic, because when I went to that reunion, Vivek Ramaswamy was there, and I just point out something. Vivek Ramaswamy drove a wedge into this insane coalition between Silicon Valley, deeply transactional, and America First, right? Because he was talking about like H-1B visas and he need more Indian immigrants and all that stuff. Go check out the last time Vivek Ramaswamy tweeted. The dude has been disappeared from the Republican Party since he dared to say something that was ideologically inconvenient for this coalition. So I'm just telling you that Vivek Ramaswamy's on the way down. I think I am absolutely back ahead of him. Damien Chazelle directed Whiplash and La La Land and those movies, so I think he's clearly the number one. But I'm up there. I'm up there, arguably, I would say.
Colin Jost your year?
I didn't like Colin Jost was not. He was years ahead of me. We went to high school together. He's a good guy.
There you go.
High school.
Guys, I need some help here. I need some help. I need some help from all of you because Pablo Torre has a very popular podcast, and he's likable to a certain select.
Can I clarify?
Thank you.
I am the least likable on your show, which is unfortunately one of the biggest platforms that I tend to
Join the club.
Sometimes have. Everywhere else,
That's
I'm
how
like
this
the
works.
fun guy. Here, I'm like the scold, and I'm like,
Welcome to my world.
Really?
Pablo.
You're the fun guy elsewhere,
yeah.
huh? Are you?
Finally
Get
walking
better
a mile in
Wi-Fi.
my shoes, Pablo.
I am the fun. Dude, I am the Stugotz of MSNBC. Just to give you a clarity on what it's like for me over there. I come in wanting to talk about. I come in wanting to rank quarterbacks, literally, and it's a very different experience.
So we're trying
I
around
yell into
here.
people's
we're
lav mics.
Yeah,
like Michelle Beadle.
we get the joke.
Beads,
we are
yeah.
trying to make you more likable around here, and you continue to just make it difficult at every turn. Billy and Stugotz are noticing at every turn that your arrogance is showing.
No, I like Pablo.
No, but
Love
Pablo.
Pablo.
Yeah,
not arrogant.
But
Not
Pablo.
Stop vivicking us.
What he just did is I lived the movie. He's basically saying I was at the start of social media. It started with me. I invented it.
I was though.
He says from his one-bedroom apartment.
I didn't make money on it. The 2-bedroom
Or apartment
bath.
shaming?
A one bedroom in New York also.
I,
I mean, that's doing well for yourself.
Thank you, Jess. I didn't as the movie says, if you invented Facebook, you would have invented Facebook. I didn't invent Facebook. What I did though was watch Mark Zuckerberg's now wife, Priscilla Chan, live in my freshman entryway and send an email to us being like, hey, do you want to sign up for Mark's new website? And I did. And
You could have
Priscilla, by
saved
way,
the
like,
world. You could have stopped it all then
I
and
mean,
there.
That's the better take, is that I was all too happy to sign up for the Hot or Not site and like stalk people in my classes because I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually convenient. Instead, yeah.
This is
It was very
Pablo
convenient.
Torre. This MSNBC. You're making him a rising star. He's got the world's most expensive podcast, and he
one way of
does
looking
journalism at a time that journalism is dying because you all gave it to Zuckerberg, and you're good with him and Musk doing journalism. And Pablo's out here
and it's expensive.
fighting the good fight, but he does so with maximum eloquence. And MSNBC, this is what you've hitched your wagon to in terms of intellect.
Yeah, but this is
This, meanwhile, David Sampson toils in a tin can, 8 o'clock in the morning, doing better content, belching it out 50 minutes at a time. Pablo needs a team of people, needs an army of hundreds to give you this. And poor Sampson's just working with Coca and trying to get on MSNBC, and nobody invites him on MSNBC.
Well, they don't invite him on MSNBC because he thinks that corruption is the same now as it was before money entered politics. So,
And then A.J. Brown's going to get cut.
Well, you're not
I
like
think Dan walked away when Samson just started saying stuff like the wheel. But that happened too. Yeah.
Do you guys understand? You've learned nothing from me, either one of you. Samson, Pablo, do you understand how hard it is to be less likable than me with your strident opinions?
Is that why
By the way,
they're
you
on?
are welcome. You are welcome for that.
He was just naming Monopoly pieces. He was like, the thimble.
is that why you hired me, Dan?
You surround yourself with people who make you more likable.
The penguin.
That's what I did.
I was a boot guy. Anybody else a boot guy?
I like the little car and the doggy.
I was the
Depending on the
little
mood.
terrier.
I used the boat.
That's
I was the top
I was
hat.
gonna make a
too.
bootlicker joke, but I
Nobody
opted
saw
out.
Stugotz coming on that one from any angle. So your level of trepidation here as we enter, like, what are the interesting takeaways? Like, what is the proper, not howling at the sky, correct temperament to have about what is clearly happening in this country, which is the gulf between have and have-nots continues to grow. There's a desperation growing amid the have-nots, and the rich people keep accruing more power, more money, so that they will have all of it at the most desperate of times and can buy all the water when you need it for a firefight, can buy all the media when you need it for a power struggle on disinformation. Like, what's accurate as we enter a new 4 years where the American public have said flatly, what we care about is the economy and immigration, and the voting is swallowed by the desperation, and people are lonely and angry, and they'll vote for whatever represents change?
I think it's Silicon Valley. I think tech is actually the big difference. And that's the difference between the wheel and now, is that we are dealing with the foremost technological innovation presented to you by companies that aren't just seeking to protect themselves, but they actually do have a we know better than you perspective on this. It's not just that Silicon Valley is transactional, David, and they are willing to spend to preserve their own self-interests. It's that now you have them in concert with an administration that doesn't care about the ideology. They don't. Donald Trump's foremost motive is profit, and it's just naked in a way that's different. There were other guidelines and guardrails around, well, he won't do this because, he won't do that because there is shame, there is policy. He actually does believe this ideologically. And I'm not saying that Trump believes in nothing. I'm just saying that nothing compares to the profit that he wants to make. And when you have that in combination with the place that has the most money to spend, that does have ideas for how the policy should be different, it's just a remarkable combination that we're going to begin to see in full bloom. That's going to make the wheel and the corruption that existed in the era of like oil barons, it's going to be quaint, because it's never been quite like this with Silicon Valley ascendant at this time.
The middle class has been disappearing for decades, number one. Number two, one of the most common misconceptions is people saying, oh, this is different. This isn't like it was. This is worse. This is getting out of hand. If you go back to the 70s, to the 60s, go back to the 20s, go back to the 1800s, for crying out loud. People had the same point of view. This can't get any worse. The problem you have, Pablo, is that you're trying to explain to people something that they already know. You're not helping them find out something. You're not giving them an epiphany that, oh my God, look who I voted into office. I had no idea what he was about. Of course they know. Maybe in 2016 they didn't know, but in 2024, of course they did, which is why all of this shouting into the wind is not necessary, because this is our country. You like it or not, this is what we wanted, and this is what we have.
Connor Scallions.
That's really good. That's pretty good. Gotta say, it's pretty good.
Jeremy, you were making faces while Samson was talking.
Well, I guess the one thing that I would say is, yes, of course, corruption has always existed, David, and we as a country have constantly needed massive deals from the proper administrations to root out corruption and save us from disaster. And basically, since Reagan was president, we have only slashed and slashed and slashed and slashed on regulation and welcomed more and more and more and more corruption and money into government. And this is that time where people are so fed up and frustrated. Whether it's different or not, David, the perception is there for young people, for middle class people, for lower class people of, this is enough. This rich guy and all of his rich friends profiting off of us, the labor. There are people who are fed up with that, and it seems to be more brazen, and more people have access to that information now than before. So the rich guys are buying up the information places and making it unable for Americans to communicate with each other in that respect without it being suppressed. That's a problem.
Pablo,
I don't love that Jeremy and I are both wearing glasses as we yell at David. It's just, I feel like we're diluting
extra
our
pretentious. Yeah, you're right.
At the same time. I do want to. I want to join Jeremy though in pushing back on David in this way. David said you find nothing out by explaining how corrupt and perhaps uniquely corrupt this administration is. The Silicon Valley thing is the part that I think we're underweighting here. every day on this show, especially, but otherwise, we marvel at how unhappy we are about our phones and what is actually ruling our day-to-day life, right? We marvel at that as if it's new all of the time. The companies that made it that way did not make it that way, I think, credit to them, because they said, we would like to make everyone's lives miserable. What happened was they were like, we can innovate and create a device that can do all of these other things. We can connect to the world, as Mark Zuckerberg has always said. We can make it so that you have the access to the Library of Alexandria on command in your phone. What I'm saying is that the misery and the ruin of all of these institutions that we enjoy, but our happiness, first and foremost, okay, our happiness was an unintended consequence of people who thought that they knew better than everybody else. And when you don't regulate those people, and when you don't put up the guardrails via a political administration that is meant to not serve a profit motive, but to serve its actual citizens, at that point, not to sound like I'm running for goddamn office right now, you are doing something in which people have to discover I'm a frog in a pot of boiling water. That's what we are discovering every day because the products are actually that good. They are that good, David. And guess what?
I think you should buy stock in flip phones, Pablo. That's what you should do. Invest Violet's money in flip phones because that's what we're gonna start going backwards. Because the world has spoken. The people have spoken. They don't want this sort of progress. They don't want this sort of connectivity. The wool is over everybody's eyes. You got this one right, Pablo.
Well, listen, I'm just saying, like, you talk to people who design. There's a guy who designed the feature that is the infinity scroll. We all know it, right? Like, you don't have to actually, like, press a button. It just scrolls infinitely. Like a slot machine. It actually is sort of premised on slot machine technology, that famously non-addictive technology that everybody who uses loves, slot machines. People love it when you watch them play a slot machine. You're like, that person having the time of their life and not sad and old and dying. What is happening is that the people who invented this technology, the infinite scroll, social media at Facebook itself, their philosophy with their own kids is we wouldn't let them use this stuff. And I think you've heard that probably before, but it's real. It's true. And I'm not saying that to say I'm going to throw my phone into the ocean. I'm just saying the people who are telling you that they know the best, okay, are also the people who have access to avoid being stopped in a unique way. It'd be one thing if they had proven it, but they haven't.
I regret all of this. I regret everything that we have done for the last 25 minutes.
Chris leaks.
We're back.
Except for that. I've
Dan,
been okay with that.
If your college was a movie, what movie would it be?
Ooh, good question.
Mine is obviously Rudy, but I don't know. David's maybe Legally Blonde.
So you guys have been looking for how long to try and
Back to school, Jessica.
Oh,
That's my college, reference. University of Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Movie, apparently.
Is that Rodney?
It came out around the time of The Wheel, I believe.
What year is Back to School? What year is Back to School?
I think it was 81.
Wait, I thought it was called Back to School, Jessica.
It's Rodney Dangerfield.
Great movie.
Samson is.
I get no respect.
Samson, yes. Samson is
What?
incapable
Limited fake Rodney?
of making a movie reference
to mood,
Jessica
Pablo.
that's not from 1981.
It was 86.
Okay, Back to School.
Liar.
As I recall, Rodney Dangerfield, is that the one he dives in? He's a swimmer of some sort?
Yeah.
Triple Lindy.
Yeah.
I've actually seen that one.
Two old guys.
Go look at Rodney. Wait a minute. Yes, why have we not been talking more about this during this segment instead of worrying about Zuckerberg? You're telling me that a 60-year-old Rodney Dangerfield, who looked 60 when he was 30, was shirtless in a movie Back to School and did the triple Lindy in order to win something in a movie.
Yet no one has ever pulled off the triple Lindy before or since. He went from one diving board to the next diving
Wait a
board
minute.
to another diving board,
He
and
was
then
not
in the
shirtless,
pool.
by the way.
And he wasn't shirtless. He had a skin-tight red tank top on with his beer belly. He was Van Wilder before Van Wilder.
Rodney.
So you guys are telling me that the triple Lindy was to go from one diving board to another diving board to another diving board? That was the big finish. Spoiler alert, the big finish to the Rodney Dangerfield movie.
His arms are so skinny.
This is what David Sampson is saying is
I gave him a 10.
his college experience.
Rodney.
It was filmed at Wisconsin, Dan.
It was so
If
good.
Jessica's going to say Rudy because of Notre Dame, then you have to say that Wisconsin is back to school.
Chris, did you just make a face because he called it Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing there?
It's
You're
Notre
not,
Dame,
you're not better than me.
Yeah.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Is the person who says Notre Dame think he's better than you? He or she is better than you. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
All in? I'm a fan of the Jets. I'm a fan of the Jets. Oh, no. The Jets. The Jets. Why this team? The Jets! The Jets!
Stugotz, what's the matter, buddy?
I mean, Greg, just one time. I mean, 40 years I've been rooting for this team, and just one time I wanted my team to play in that big game in that beautiful dome in Los Angeles.
Dome? What about the elements? Back in my day, we didn't play in a dome.
Let me tell you, back in my day, we considered football to be an honorable game. We didn't have to pass the ball every single play, and that's how we did it back in my day. It's the cold in December and swell drink two-a-days. It's embracing occasional puns, and don't get me started on instant replay. Now we're cooking with gas. Watch out! I'm not done, by the way. Let me tell you, back in my day, there was no showboating. We respected the game. We sat on a stoop and let the radio play, 'cause that's how we did it back in my day. It's the wishbone I wish for. It's a toss to Red Grange. It's a first down without a taunt. Playing the game the right way. Whoa! No retractable roofs. I'm talking frozen tundras and ice bowls. No Van Brooklyn. That's why they call it football weather. Bud Grant and the Purple People Eaters, ladies and gentlemen. That's how they played the game back in my day. It's Len Dawson enjoying a smoke and a brew during a game. It's Hank Stram wearing a sports coat. Legalize the clothesline and bring back drop kicks while you're at it. I'm Greg Cody, and that's how it was back in my day. Ba-da-ba-diddly-up. Bop. Ba-da-ba-diddly-up. Bop. Bop. That kind of thing.
Thanks for the lift, bro.
No problem.
Yo, what is this? Is this the musical? Turn it down, man. Like, I'm so tired of it. Musicals are corny. The shit is corny. Like, me tiene hasta aquí with this musical stuff, man. Just turn it down. I want to just chill, man, for real.
I feel you, bruh. I used to be that same way. Then my dog Andrew Lloyd Webber touched my soul with Phantom. And I quickly realized that, man, musicals, they're the highest form of theatrical art that there is, my brother. Think about it. It combines song, movement, dialogue, and production in a comprehensive fashion that really can't be rivaled. I'm talking about really, like, intricate shit, man. In many ways, musical led the cultural change in the 1930s, which was considered to be the golden age of musicals. Had those supremely talented artists not pushed boundaries and helped shape the new American pathos back then, I don't know if I'd be here right now today, standing in front of you. No cap, like no capadonna. Musicals had the capability to make you feel ways that you never thought possible. Even if you might find the subject matter mundane going into it, by the end of the experience, you might find yourself spiritually enlightened through the magic of song and an occasional exposition to advance the story. Matter of fact, I'm feeling ways about football right now I could never dream prior to. I think I'm about to have a moment, my brother. Way down in the jungle deep, a lion bit a Viking on his motherfucking knee. It began in 1869. I see you, Mojo. With a match between the Princeton Tigers and the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Then in 1880, along came a man named Walter Camp, the father of American football, the Waltster. Wham, as they called him. He established the snap, the line of scrimmage, 11-player teams, and the concept of downs. The gladiator spectacle. Though the game has evolved over time, at the heart of it, the game of football is just a primal means to tell the age-old story of the triumph of the human spirit. Can you and your teammates overcome the brutal battery of physical and emotional trials over the course of a savagely cruel 18-week regular season, brother? And what be your reward for such a merciless gauntlet? A thrilling single elimination tournament that pushes the peak male form to high water marks year after year against the game's very best. All with the hope that you and your brothers in combat can rise above all others in one unified voice. Declare yourselves champion. That is why, with every fiber of our being, we love the playoffs.
When the best play, trenches face to face, sacrifice life and live for the Lombardi. If there's a way, Stanford turns it all around. It would have to be LA, it would have to be McVay. What'd you say? Tom Brady, always down. Could he turn it all around now? Turn it all around now. Wipes the blood from his lip, holy shit, he's gonna do it all again, do it all again. It's time for the playoffs, so grab a beer, I hope it's Miller Lite. It's time for the playoffs, the playoffs. It's time for the good stuff, where every game comes down to guys who kick. It's time for the playoffs, the playoffs, the playoffs.
Ah, the playoffs. Our goalies, playoff beards, and Lord Stanley.
No, Roy, I'm not talking about ice hockey. I'm talking about the NFL playoffs, the gridiron, win or go home, the ultimate postseason tournament. Here, let me show you. Big Ben's last game, Kyler's feeling shit. Upsets in Green Bay and in Tennessee. There's just no way Prescott's going to the ground. He slid 1 second too late, and they don't have a timeout. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Arrowhead, become personal playground. Personal playgrounds. Too much time, 13 ticks. Holy shit, he's gonna do it all again, do it all again. It's time for the playoffs, so grab a beer. I hope it's Miller Lite. It's time for the playoffs, the playoffs. It's time for the good stuff, where every game comes down to guys who kick. It's time for the playoffs, the playoffs, the The playoffs sometimes mean having to say goodbye. Even if you're not ready, careers wind to an end, mantles taken, last chapter's written. But stars emerge to write new, exciting stories. For every door that closes, a new one opens. For every immunized quarterback that falls short, there's a young hotshot ready to take his place. There's nothing quite like playoffs. The playoffs. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'm talking about the greatest of all time. He can turn it around in just one play. You can watch it all happen in the playoffs. The playoffs, the playoffs, it's the playoffs. Never is afraid. I see his face, the chosen. I'm talking about Evan McPherson. It's time for the playoffs. It's the playoffs, the playoffs.
Evan McPherson? The GOAT? He's a kicker. I mean, Tom Brady's bed's still warm. Tom Brady just left.
You're the greatest of all time. You're the greatest of all time.
He's beautiful in every way. It's out of control.
He throws the ball most accurately and won 7 rings.
So good at backing. He's meant to outdeck his teams.
A 6th-round draft pick with a chip on his shoulder and a dimple on his chin.
You're the greatest of all time. You're the greatest of all time.
He broke so many records and reached unattainable goals.
I said he was done 10 years ago when he shoved it down my throat.
He played the Jets twice a year and always ripped out their souls.
And just like that, he left us all wanting more. He's a certified GOAT.
You're the greatest of all time. You're the greatest of all time. You're the greatest of all.
The greatest of all time.
You're the greatest
The greatest of all time.
Huzzah! After an incredible season, the big game is finally here.
Ugh, have fun. I don't even care who's in the big game, unless it's my Steelers.
Come on, Jess. A game they call Super and a town they call Tinsel await. Which oversized behemoths will control the trenches? Which variety of barley wheat lager will woo the consumer? Which 90s rapper will solicit the most yearning nostalgia? There's oh so much to decide.
A game so big, one can only dream of the brightest light shining on your team. But if my team's not there, why even go? There's no one to cheer on, I don't get the show. Oh, tell me, you got the reasons. You got the reasons. Take me there. Take me there. Just take me there.
The Super Bowl, 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 the Super Bowl.
I hope you're starting to see the light. Regardless of who's in it, it's a spectacle.
I think I'm starting to come around. Like, for instance,
Everybody wagering on a team. Chris Collinsworth sliding into your screen. I was too caught up in being a fan instead of just shotgunning beers and betting the Rams. Oh, tell me, you got more reasons. You got more reasons. Take me there. Take me there. Just take me there.
The Super Bowl, 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 the Super Bowl.
Anything you want, everything you need, you can get it all. Pat McAfee. Writings on the wall, what's it gonna be? You'll see Marshall Falk and Mariucci. Anything you want, everything you need, you can get it all from Dominique. Writings on the wall, what's it gonna be? You can get it all. Kyle Brandt's Hemmings.
Going out west for the Super Bowl.
Going out west for the Super Bowl.
My team's not there, but I'm gonna show.
You may be asking yourself, where do we get more Le Batard Show, even though we get way too much Le Batard Show and we can't keep up with all of the Le Batard Show? Mike Ryan has lovingly been working on a project, an oral history of our show's history. Very self-involved. Where can people get it?
Well, I've heard a lot of complaints as to, hey, I want to listen to all the episodes because we put them on our main podcast feed, available wherever it is that you get your podcasts, but sometimes some of the older episodes purge. So what we've done at lebatardaf.com is put together a playlist of the entire oral history in chronological order, so you can listen back to every episode and not have to worry about scrolling down and not seeing an older episode.
Made it easy for me.
Made it very easy.
Playlist for Stugotz. Lazy.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
I'm playing quarterback. Yeah. If I'm that guy, I won't be taking sacks. Yeah. I'm making special throws behind my back. Yeah. Cause I'm that guy, so I pick up your slack. Yeah. But what about this? If I'm just a guy, won't recognize a blitz when it's disguised. I'm throwing picks when we're in overtime. That's just what happens if I'm just a guy. I got some questions.
Sam Darnold,
That QB throwing
or
it.
Geno Smith,
That QB throwing it.
Brock Purdy,
That QB throwing it.
Kyler Murray.
That QB
Let me see what
throwing
you
it.
got, Bo Nix.
That QB throwing it.
Michael Penix,
That QB throwing it.
CJ Stroud.
That QB throwing it.
I'll ask aloud.
That QB throwing it.
Are you that guy?
That QB throwing it.
Are you that guy?
That QB throwing it.
Are you that guy? Are you that guy?
That QB throwing it.
Are you that guy?
That QB throwing it.
Are you that guy?
That QB throwing it.
Are you that guy?
throwing it.
Are you that guy?
Better.
Pretty good.
As in, that's better than before, or it needs to be better?
Always needs to be better.
Got it.
A guy, the guy. How many A guys are there at quarterback? Listen to the Viking frustration. I'm going to set up this sound, Stugotz, because, and I will tell you that my Vikings analysis this season has been very simplified. I heard a lot of O'Connell's the best. I heard a lot of Brian Flores proves Tua wrong. Coaching, magic. And I just kept seeing at the center of all, no, that's Sam Darnold. And it's still Sam Darnold at the middle of that. And at the very end, I collapsed because they went 14-3. I'm like, okay, maybe it was Sam Darnold. And then what happened was Sam Darnold was maximum Sam Darnold. And the Minnesota announcers knew it was coming.
Yep.
They live a cold life in the cold, physically in the cold, and now they've lived long enough. Oh, no, the Detroit Lions are better than us. We've lived an entire generation and generation after that and generation after that. We're always better than the Lions. And now we're not anymore. And why is that? Because we have Sam Darnold.
Correct. But at least the Bears haven't caught up. Yeah.
Well, the frustration that is in Minnesota, perhaps you can hear right in here, because I mentioned, Stugotz, that Addison and Naylor and Jefferson and Hawkinson and
Hawkinson, you got it. Aaron Jones.
And Aaron Jones. Like that is a lot of people to give one. They traded for Hawkinson, got him from Detroit because they thought, okay, if Naylor's our third best receiver, we can make any quarterback good, even one that's on the scrap heap. And then Minnesota realizes at the same time as the rest of us, oh, no, it's still Sam Darnold.
Behind him, Aaron Jones, Addison in motion to the right. Two receivers left. Rams blitz. Darnold gets away from it. Steps up in the pocket. He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Just run, Paul.
At the 25-yard line, he's sacked for a fifth time.
The throw it man.
Oh
Just
my
throw it, man.
God.
What a great call.
That's speaking for their entire fan base.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
It's so easy to do from up there.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Yeah, things are moving really fast down there. He's scared too.
Throw it, man.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
The just run is
It's
great.
so easy. Just run. Yeah.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Just run.
Just run.
I didn't catch that till like the fourth time.
Both of them matter-of-factly they really are surgically dissecting the Rams defense from up there.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Just run.
That's got to be, I would say, top 2 call of
So
the
good.
last 6
Yes.
months. Only just behind the disaster, what a bad idea call from the Maryland USC game earlier this year.
Can you just put yourself, okay, right now, when Chris Cody argues yesterday, okay, Stugotz, because there's a lot of pressure on everything that we're watching. And Chris Cody, he was the only one in the world who had the coward's take of give me all of Sam Darnold's money, but none of the expectations that come with being an NFL quarterback. And I sign up with everything he's saying. But I too am a coward about this. You know why I'm a coward? Because I'm listening to that sound. And when I hear that announcer just casually say, just run, as if those aren't 300-pound people chasing Sam Darnold, and that his every instinct actually is to just run.
He wish he could.
But the decision he makes to not run is based on knowing that it is best if I throw because I'm not much of a runner. Now, we do have a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the rest of the playoffs, Stugotz, and I've been watching. It's a fascinating evolution to see in the sport. Really fascinating. Oh, when it all shrinks up and Justin Herbert has to throw just from the pocket, even Justin Herbert's not quite mobile enough to be the mobile thing you need because defenses are eating up. Just throw it, man.
Right.
You got to get rid of it in 2 and 3 seconds.
Yes.
So Sam Darnold gets swallowed by some of this. This is, to me, the greatest gift. I will ask the rest of you if you think this is normal, because I do not think it is. And one of the reasons that I think that Aaron Rodgers was a special quarterback that necessarily wasn't winning the way that Tom Brady was 7 times, but would just step up calmly into the teeth of a pocket because he could feel everything that was happening around him wasn't chaos. He just needed to move up 2 steps to see that the field could be seen clearly. With his head up, not worried about either running or getting crushed, Joe Burrow steps into the teeth of the pocket.
Yeah, pocket presence. Yes.
With his face and his head up in a way that's uncommon for the quarterback. And so he can live in a smaller pocket that doesn't require him to be mobile quarterback and still do some of the things that Joe Burrow does.
Right. All those guys are doing when they do that is buying themselves the extra second or 2 that they need to get rid of the football. Right. A half a second maybe. But you're asking Sam Darnold in that spot, when you say just run, man, you're asking him to be Jaden Daniels. He's not Jaden Daniels.
But are you guys not noticing sort of the way that the terrain gets eaten up so that very quickly, all of a sudden, Kirk Cousins isn't serviceable because of how much is changing? You got to get the running backs disposable, cheapened in value. I need my quarterback to either be value or be mobile, preferably both, because I'm going to need somebody that turns run pass option into TJ Watt doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Jaden is the guy most teams are looking for, right? Cheap and mobile.
Well, but I mean,
and great.
But I would say Baker Mayfield is a level of athletic. I would say that C.J. Stroud is a level of athletic. I would think that none of us would dispute that Kyler Murray is obviously very athletic. But I'm talking about the way that sport tries to exploit winning in the margins by finding value in all the places. Of course, if you make a quarterback who's a quarterback and a running back as well, you can save money at running back and then get Derrick Henry for 1 year, $10 million, and boom. You have a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Or if you're Josh Allen and you can run around like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you could beat Denver just handing the ball to James Cook. All game, you could just beat Denver that way.
Makes it easier.
Because we can't stop all of this mobility that's coming our way. But when you're in Minnesota, this happened in 2 games, Stugotz. We went from Sam Darnold's going to make so much this offseason to this.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Just run.
Just run.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
Who is that guy?
Isn't that America, though, on Sunday, watching on your television? You're just like, just run. It's easy. Look, it's right there.
I don't know who the Just Run guy is. I know the other guy's Paul Allen from KFXN in Minneapolis.
Would you not agree, would all of you not agree that much of the armchair coaching that there is from all of the critics who watch football on Sunday is some degree of that's easy, why wouldn't you just run there? The hardest position in the sport.
Yeah.
Look, it's right. There's a hole right there. Look, it's right there. The hole's right there.
Or like, look, he's open down the field 50 yards. Pick your head up.
Yeah.
Stop looking at the ginormous men trying to tackle you and look downfield while you're about to get smushed.
It's better than that, though, right? Because the decision of just run also doesn't take into calculation that since he's a child, being better than all the other athletes at this sport, Sam Darnold has never thought that the good play is to run 4 yards and get tackled. I that's not the play. I understand that has to be taught, and he has to learn that that's the good play.
Mm-hmm.
But let me go get hit violently, and I can just go over there for 4 yards. You also have Justin Jefferson, so that's not what you're doing generally. Not a team strength to drive down the field for Sam Darnold 4 yards at a time.
Sam did rush it 67 times for 212 yards this season, a career high.
4 yards at a time. He's gotten very good at it. You understand, though, it's not, and I'm sure Sam Darnold is very athletic compared to just people.
To us.
To normal human beings. Yeah. There was some more.
To the guys calling the game.
Well, but here you go, though, Stugotz. But here's another thing that's harder than people think, okay? Another silly thing that's harder than people think, because you say to the guy calling the game. Is everyone listening to this understanding what a disaster it has been to pay $375 million for Tom Brady to not be even mediocre at broadcasting the speaking of football games? It has not worked. It is likely to end after 1 year. You will have the fairly unprecedented distinction of having a broadcaster walk away from more than $300 million because he's not good at a job, failing after 1 year in a way that Tom Brady has never failed before.
I hope Greg Olson's agent is ready for this negotiation, man.
Listen to what Tom Brady's former teammate Vince Wilfork had to say in general about Tom Brady's broadcasting.
Before you go, what do you think of Tom Brady as a broadcaster?
I don't know.
Been stared at like that in my life, other than my wife has given me those eyes.
I mean, it's like, he's very knowledgeable of the game. Like that's what it is. But I would rather be my quarterback than my, on TV doing what he's doing now.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair.
I love him for my quarterback.
And he may only be doing it this year. He's so involved with the Raiders ownership. I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's a lot of rumblings. He does the Super Bowl and he's done.
I heard some, I heard there's a lot going on with, legally what he can and cannot do. So.
I'm not sure what was more awkward, his reaction to that or when Dan asked him about his marriage.
You are very comfortable talking about how you met your wife, how much you love her, how important she is to you, and that's the reason that I asked the question. I've always admired that about you, that you have no problems whatsoever professing your love.
Well, the thing is, I got a new wife now. Me and Bianca didn't make it. So I moved on. We moved on. It was for the better for both of us. And but we are real, good friends. We are parents first.
Things just got a little awkward there. So let me be the first on this show to congratulate you on the new wife, Vince. Congratulations on feeling whole, feeling complete. Let's talk tailgating. Yeah. Whitney was so disappointed in Dan. Did you see his face?
He looked so pissed off.
It's a good save.
Thank you.
I would say comedically, just rhythmically, in terms of song, you have not heard a better cadence of words chosen than I have a new wife, Me and Bianca didn't make it. Like you would describe, a plane crash. like some, as you would describe people not living, didn't make it.
We didn't survive.
The marriage didn't survive, but to say I have a new wife, me and Bianca, it's a funny name as well. Me and Bianca didn't make it.
It's such a cop-out to be like, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. That wasn't the question.
Right. I
That
like him
wasn't
as my
the question.
quarterback. Well, no shit.
Also, like, if he gets to call the Super Bowl and then he's like, I'm done, calling it quits, leaving on top. Okay, well, if Greg Olsen comes back, he's got to wait now like 3 more years to get to call a Super Bowl. That's not fair.
Why have you guys frozen the way I look on the screen there?
They're highlighting your face, and I'm just saying Dan's going to think you guys are making a fat joke.
Well, I look terrible there. I look pale. The lighting's not good in the studio. I look deeply unhealthy. I do look less gray.
You look good now, Dan.
I think you look way better
That's
now.
great.
But why is it on the screen? Is it just to make
The face
fun of
you're
me?
making when it happens. Like,
Right,
This is
right.
your
It's like
awkwardness.
sheepish.
The face of shame,
Like,
yes.
ooh.
Ooh, I did
It's
that.
like ope.
Yeah,
If you
I-
said ope, you would have said ope, but you don't say ope. You just express it.
I have a new wife,
Well, hello, Dan Le Batard.
Wait a minute.
Is that
Why,
what we're doing?
why is Skipper here? No,
That's what I thought you were doing.
I
for a
was.
second.
I was doing my limited fake Wilfork, not my limited fake Skipper.
It was terrible, though.
Billy, on the other hand, not feeling uncomfortable in this clip. The biggest smile I've ever seen on
Oh well,
Billy's
this
face.
is the thing. This is why Billy is the secret
Good teammate.
ingredient that he is. Billy, look, yes, focus. Please focus in on Billy. You will see. No, down, go go
one.
down, and focus
Yes.
in as much as you can. Put that on the screen and try and focus just on Billy's face in the background. The reveal of this has Jessica hiding in her own hands because we can all see the delight of Billy in the background. As soon as we focus this up, we will see that Billy Gill, Agent of Anarchy, is just delighted that I have fallen on my face opposite Vince
No,
Wilfork
false.
at his feet.
I love love, man. I'm just glad to hear a nice love story.
Look at the difference in faces between Whittingham and Billy.
Let me, yes, it's the difference between the
Jessica sandwiched in the middle.
It's the difference between the responsibilities of the chairs. Yes, that's exactly right. Why do you think Billy hates sitting in that chair so much?
I mean, we were supposed to ask about barbecuing and tailgating, not about his marriage, and I think that's what that look is. Just stick
Agreed.
to the script.
Agreed.
No one said ask about his marriage.
Nobody loves love like this man, Vince Wilfork.
It is so perfect. Witty, just Billy. That encapsulates the entire show.
The worst part of that for me is I was in reruns. It had worked the last time I talked to him. The marriage didn't.
Don't ask him about it next time because we don't know what happened with.
Right, you never know.
Me and Bianca didn't make it. It's somewhere between a party you couldn't get to and a boat lost at sea. Didn't make it, is it? I think it seems more extreme than just a marriage falling apart. Does it not? Didn't make it feels like something between marriage falling apart and life ending.
It's a really sad way to say it.
He said that they're still friends.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
It's
that's
like, oh,
Yeah,
we didn't
but
make it.
we didn't make it. I'm with Dan. It's an awkward, odd way. It seems it's a bit much.
It's actually a nice way of saying
Yeah,
it.
That's what I mean.
we're
It's
divorced
like,
now.
oh, it's like, no.
Terrible
we didn't make
battle
it.
custody. She got the house.
Alimony.
Oh, no, I hate her. Like, it could have been a lot worse.
Could have gotten a lot worse. Yeah.
She got
You're
half.
right.
He
You
did
know
a
what?
great job. Yeah.
A success.
I got the rowboat.
Yeah,
so
you're
it's
right.
fine.
You're
I
right.
didn't get everything in the divorce. It's not fair.
I got the
Positive
dog.
outlook, yeah. Billy, I aired and I've aired today. I aired before and I've aired today in not getting to the fact that you have now. You came in the other day and you simply said, "Big night for ghosts."
Oh, it was on Monday.
Really?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Because Darnold was seeing ghosts.
Yeah, Darnold was seeing ghosts
Darnold,
again. Then we
yeah.
had the flashbacks to the last time he was seeing ghosts.
Just run.
Everybody was talking about the ghosts that he was seeing. Good night for ghosts.
It was like the whole universe made that same
Yeah.
sort of callback at the same time. Like several group chats, just the ghost emoji. It's like
Can-
the thing he's going to be best known for now.
Oh, but can we think about, honestly, can we think for a moment about the haunting and the humanity in what I'm about to say? Sam Darnold cares deeply about being a great quarterback, and for 17 weeks he had us fooled. Like, he's been up and down. A Jets organization relied on him. He was great at USC. He was supposed to be a first-round pick, and then his career was dead. Careers aren't dead in this sport. Maybe you can be Baker Mayfield. Maybe you can get into a contract. And then You're playing in the most important game of your life for a contract. And just last week, you went from 14-2, you got everything conquered, to, we're a 5 seed going on the road. That's hard to win on as a quarterback on the road. Daniels was the only one who did it this weekend. He's a rookie. He's got a future that you don't have, Sam Darnold, right now. We thought you had a future going into the offseason. We thought you were going to get money. And the reason that this is happening is you're in a playoff game, and we all feel that this is going to happen to you. And now you feel that it's going to happen to you. And the pressure of it is falling on you. And there's a pass rush, but you're feeling pass rush where it's not. Holy shit is that feeling alone when your skill guys are great and your entire future is playing out on television and everyone sees, he's just Sam Darnold. And you're like, oh my God, I'm just Sam Darnold. I'm just Sam Darnold. I see ghosts everywhere. I'm not as confident as I need to be. It reminded me, actually, I told you, I used to get into bar fights, and I retired.
That's a sentence.
From bar fighting.
I retired the time that I got
hang
it.
up the gloves or what?
I appreciate that you guys are making fun of me about this, but it's a horrible self-realization to have, which is where you've started a fight and you realize that the person across from you is not afraid of that fight, and then it means that you are, because you've registered a thought in a moment that's supposed to be about muscle memory. Sam Darnold thinking that he's Sam Darnold in that moment when America's thinking he's Sam Darnold and the Rams think he's Sam Darnold, and now his teammate Justin Jefferson thinks, oh, bleep, I'm still with Sam Darnold. He fooled me for 16 games.
I don't know, Dan, he's still going to get paid. He's not going to get paid what he was going to get paid a couple of weeks ago, but he had 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and I look, and this is a product of the Jets just being a lousy organization. Last year, not this year, last year was his rookie year. With Kyle Shanahan, he learned under that quarterback coach, that quarterback whisperer, and then came to Minnesota, and this is really his first full year as a starting quarterback. He gave you 4,300 yards, 14 wins, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I know he was lousy in the biggest game.
Two biggest games.
I'm talking most about how alone it must feel when we all can see you're seeing danger that's not there. When an announcer in the press box is this comfortable with his frustration of, oh no, I had hope, and my quarterback sees fear that isn't registering with me.
He's holding it too long. Just run. Throw it, man.
I mean, I hear you. I feel like Viking fans and those announcers should applaud Sam Darnold. The quarterback they drafted, the guy who was supposed to be their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, went down, and in walks Sam Darnold and got them 14 wins, kept them relevant the entire year.
We have the other call that I was referencing, which I contend was the best call of the season. This was the end of the first half of the Maryland-USC game. Maryland's down. They're fumbling. It looks like they have no hope. They did end up winning the game by 1 point. But here is the call of the Maryland fumble.
They're not going to clock it.
That is shouted at the sky by someone falling to their knees.
They're not going to clock it.